Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Oh, I just realized I need to open these blinds. It's still dark when I see the red lights of the tower. Oh boy. And I saw the Christmas train yesterday. The Kansas City Southern Christmas train was passing by, and I didn't get a chance to get a photo or a video. Christmas train came down. It stopped here, went back, and it went again. I don't know what it was doing, but I said, "Oh man, I don't guess it'll pass by again." It's an interesting thing. You might be able to find photos of it on the internet. Kansas City Southern Christmas train. All right, Bellows Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, aged 4 years. All right, the company was founded in 1830. It's currently Bellows is currently part of Luxco of Missouri, and Bellows is not a company anymore. It's not a subsidiary. It's simply a brand name, like Seagram's. That's all Seagram's is, and that all it has been for 19 years. A brand name, which is diffused among a number of companies: Coca-Cola, Pernod Ricard, and so on. All right, here we go. Virginia Black. My daughter said, "It looks like a perfume bottle." I said, "Yeah, it looks like a 1986 perfume bottle that you would have purchased at JCPenney." But anyway, clear at the top, blacked out at the bottom. This is a blend of 2-year-old, 4-year-old, and 6-year-old bourbon, I think. Let's see. Oh, no, sorry. I thought that was wrong. 2, 3, and 4-year-old bourbons, finished with a decadent profile. Now, that's an interesting statement. Finished with a decadent profile. And this is Drake's bourbon. My daughter and her friend almost said, "Let's try that one," because it was Drake. But they decided to go with Blanton's because they like the horse and the jockey. There's the bourbon. Let's see. Well, since it's a blend of bourbons and it doesn't say straight bourbon, does it? No, it doesn't. Oh, they could be straight bourbons because they're aged at least 2 years. And it has to be white, charred white oak barrels, new charred oak. Not, they don't have to be white oak, but charred oak barrels. So it would be bourbon because it would be straight bourbon because they're all 2, 3, and 4 years old. All right. But it doesn't say that. It just says bourbons. And I think the reason is because they might be adding flavoring to it and coloring. You can add flavoring and coloring to bourbon if it's blended bourbon, okay? And you don't have to disclose that. But they're giving sort of like an oblique disclosure on the website, but not on the bottle. It just says aged 2 years, distilled in Indiana by Virginia, bottled by Virginia Black, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Well, that's actually Midwest Grain Products. For Virginia Black LLC, West Hollywood, California. Not from Virginia. They had to put another disclosure so people wouldn't think they're buying Virginia whiskey. So Virginia Black American whiskey, that's what they're calling it. So they're calling it American whiskey. And since they're claiming American whiskey and not bourbon, although that's what it is, they can add the coloring and they can add the flavoring. And there is a mirror on the front, glued to the front. That's a mirror with like gold foil behind it. So it's glass on glass. It's strange, hey? Okay. So those bourbon laws are complex, sort of. You would have to spend a lot of time reading them, but they're specific. You know what I'm saying? They're complex, but specific. So if you read them carefully, you can kind of understand. You can understand what the story is on it, and you can get a good perception of it. And that's why I got into the argument about, is Jack Daniel's a bourbon? And people were telling me, no, it's a Tennessee whiskey. That doesn't mean it's not a bourbon. If you made a bourbon in Louisiana, it would be Louisiana whiskey, no? But that's not an official name. Tennessee whiskey is an official designation but not by the United States government. It's only a designation by the legislature and governor. The governor signed it. By the government, then it would be the government of Tennessee. Okay, that has no legal force anywhere else. All right, and you say no, it's mellowed through charcoal, so it's not a bourbon. The filtering has no bearing on whether a whiskey is a bourbon or not. Okay, I can definitely prove that. But anyway, this is not about that argument. Now, here is the bellows. It's amber, just amber gold. All right, typical looking whiskey, a little lighter than normal, maybe. But this one is unusually dark. I mean, look how dark this is. This is like copper, straight up copper. Unusually red, reddish brown. How is it going to get that dark after just 2, 3, or 4 years? They could use alligator char, which is the thickest char level on a barrel. Like, when you're burning logs and it gets that thick and it looks like the back of an alligator's hide on the back of an alligator. And really, it's going to suck up all that color in a few weeks. It's not going to take 4 years. Okay, the aging is going to help it. It's going to get hot and cold, hot and cold. It's going to help the liquor form. The coloring might, but I think they're adding coloring to this, caramel coloring, and I think they're adding a flavoring to it. What kind of flavoring? I don't know, maybe like brown sugar or some kind of syrup, like a flavoring. What the U.S. government calls harmless added coloring or flavoring. Does not need to be disclosed. I mean, they can disclose it. They don't have to with American whiskey. It is blended because it's 3 bourbons blended together. Then they add the coloring and the flavoring, so they call it American whiskey. I think I'm on the right track with that. But generally, blended whiskey, you're talking about 80% grain alcohol, just grain alcohol, unaged. Could be aged, or could be unaged. Doesn't matter. Blended with straight bourbon, and it doesn't even have to be blended with straight bourbon. It just has to be straight whiskey, whiskey, pure whiskey. All right, but anyway, that's another story for another day. Oh yeah. This is not going to be much of a challenge these next 11 minutes. I'm going to watch the news at the top of the hour. It's going to be no challenge because the Virginia Black is such an unusual product. It doesn't taste like anything I've ever tasted, like anything else. It's unique. Now, whether you think it's good or not, I don't know. A regular size bottle costs you about $33. Regular size bottle. This is a half size bottle, 375 milliliter. So I have 2 of them, so that it would add up to a full bottle, right? And it cost me $10. $10 for a bottle. 2 halves equal a whole. So for me to get it for $10 is a triumph because we're talking, like I say, $33 everywhere. And Thurns has it, $33. Comes in a beautiful rubberized box, like the finish is like a rubber coating, and it's fancy. It's like a gift box, and it's at the top of the shelf, kind of show off with it. I don't think the sales are too good for it, though. It'll probably tail off and die off after a while. Like, do people still sell Fonzie lunch boxes? No, because that's been dead since 1979. It was already dying then, so, or practically dead. So is Drake gonna stay popular? I don't know. I hope so, for his sake, I guess. I don't know anything about him. I don't really follow mass appeal pop music. But you just don't see these kind of things lasting too long. But well, it is out now. Well, I got it at Savannah discount for $10. So here we go. Oh, and the bellows was $5.99. True story. $5.99 for a liter straight bourbon whiskey, aged 4 years. I know it sounds incredible. It is incredible. But I've got credibility. I'm telling the truth. Okay, I'm telling you. If you ever go to Savannah Discount, you'll believe all my stories. You know, what sounds like a lie, you know, you might be watching and say he lies all the time. Go to Savannah Discount and then drive up the road north on the same highway and then take a right and go to, it's right there on the corner almost. Yeah, but you got to make a U-turn. But and go to Discount Depot. You'll believe my stories after you go to those two places. You'll never question me again. I mean, about prices and deals. Okay, so this is the Virginia Black. It has that strange char, but it's a strange charred wood. It's almost like kind of like the added liquid smoke. You know what I'm talking about? That you could buy in the little plastic bottles. They used to be glass bottles. Those things would break if they dropped. But some kind of caramel candy. My friend David swore it's flavored. It's flavored, and I was saying, "Oh, you're wrong." But then I realized he's right. And he said, "I don't like it." And then he went and bought another bottle. I said, "I thought you didn't like it." He said, "Well, it was only $5." I said, "Oh, so you don't like it in a relative sense?" Like they were saying, I got to answer comments later. I didn't know your daughter hated Budweiser that much. She probably doesn't technically hate it that much. She only hates it in a relative sense. You understand? I mean, she doesn't like it. But she only hates Budweiser in a contextual way. And I'm the same way with a lot of things. It depends on the context in which I'm speaking, you see, and then people can't see things in context, so they'll take what I'm saying out of context, and then they'll make an accusation, you know, you're this way, no. And I say, no, you're looking at it out of context. What I said was valid in that context. Outside of it, it probably would seem outrageous. I don't need to close my eyes anymore because I know what's what. Well, the Bellows is more traditional. If you want a traditional Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, Bellows is it, and it's $5.99 for the liter. I mean, where I could get it, it's probably sold out over there now for that. But although Bellows does seem to be growing in this area, so maybe their Luxco's making a big push. But you know, it's just standard. You may say, well, it's kind of dull. Well, that's fair. We could say that Bellows is sort of dull. But there is some wood, charred oak, the candy sweetness that you get with the whiskey, the corn, candy corn, and all that typical stuff. So no, it's not going to make you say, oh, wow, it's so fantastic, you know, but it's good. I mean, when you're dealing with these kind of things, what you're really worried about is if it's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like $5.99 bottle of liquor. You say, well, like the main concern is this going to be terrible. So when it's just dull or ordinary, you be pleased with it. Because I've had some that are really wretched, you know, like, or are they really wretched? Well, they're highly questionable, you know, like the Hartley brandy. I talk about that too much, you know, but people say, oh, you're bringing that up again. But it's such a strange product that it's like a reference point. Like you always refer to it, sort of like your baseline of things that shouldn't be. So your base, and Hartley costs you about $8 a bottle. Could be cheaper depending on where you go and depending on what sales they're running. And I've never tried their flavored ones, you understand? I've only tried Hartley. Well, Hartley's flavored, but who knows what? They say drizzled rum cake. It's kind of like that. But Might be flavored with rum, like real sweet rum. But whatever the case, Hartley is strange, and there's an undertaste of rough, kind of harsh badness. Well, that was the case at least. Now the VSOP that they're putting out is a little nicer. But that's the baseline of strange. So now let's see Virginia Black. See, this was no challenge. Yeah, Virginia Black is so strange. It's like real candy. You know, that Bellows has candy-like aspects that you get with most bourbon whiskeys, like that candy corn, which I always pick up. Like that. But this is like overtly caramel candy. You say, well, that's what Drake likes to eat, a lot of sweet candy. I'm sure it is, since they say he hand-picked it, he hand-selected it and put that interesting finish on it. And I know that's what they mean. I know you get nervous. Don't get scared now. Don't get scared now. It's like tobacco. I think they tried to make it taste like cigar tobacco, you know, from Virginia. You know, these days there's so much social hostility towards tobacco, mostly perpetuated by the U.S. government and trial lawyers and social justice, so-called, really, you know, socialist advocacy groups. I call them aggravating groups. And that's the neo-Puritan mindset of we're going to regulate your life. And that goes back to the original Puritans who came in the 1600s, because to America, they had the same mindset of we're going to regulate your life. We're going to control your behavior at all times. And that's why they left England, because they were irritating everybody. You know, they frame it like, oh, they came to America for religious freedom. No, they really came here because they were so irritating. And they told them to get lost. And they were dictatorial. Remember, when the Puritans took over England, they set up a dictatorship, a very vicious, hateful, regulatory dictatorship. And then they did the same thing in Massachusetts. And then eventually, you know, it became the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you know, a democratic state. But it still had that Puritan mindset of we're going to run your life, no matter where you are in the world. And it's, you know, but anyway, and that's an interesting concept, and it's something to study, and it's still around today. And that's what gave us prohibition, you see, and gave us war between the states. Like, can you imagine states fighting each other in a war? It happened. Crazy, right? Thank you, Puritans. You irritating. Okay. You say, oh, you hate Yankees. I don't hate Yankees. I don't hate anybody. I even have Yankees on my hangouts most of the time. They don't hate me. And some of them realize those kind of things, and so they'll kind of rebel against what their upbringing taught them, as corrupt as it was, you see. So you can find open-minded people anywhere. Okay, so I can't say that Virginia Black is bad. Just because something is unusual doesn't make it bad, does it? No. It's an unusual product. It has that tobacco. I got on this rant because of tobacco, but, you know, that does set you off. Sets me off. Yeah, it's like caramel candy in a tobacco flavoring. Like, think of chewing tobacco. So it has like a Levi Garrett type thing. I don't know how you would feel about that. But it is distinct, and it's not bad. It's hardly bad. And I think my friend David has realized that. It's not bad. It's strange. It caught him off guard. So now he's drinking down the bottle and he's enjoying it. So, but you would never confuse Bellows. You would never confuse Virginia Black with any other product. No way. Not gonna happen. Bellows, you could. Now, Bellows, you could get it mixed up because it's so typical bourbon. It's just like stereotypical 4-year age bourbon. So, I mean, you wouldn't get it confused with Jim Beam because that one is that one is sort of unusual, Jim Beam, but it's green wood and that moss. It's like a black mold taste. I don't understand that, but it's there. I don't dislike it. It's just unique. But I'm sure there's 100 other brands of bourbon that taste just like Bellows. And they're probably all good. And some are cheaper and some are kind of high and some are mid-range. Jean-Pierre says, morning, my friend. Good morning to you, Jean-Pierre. Well, folks, I got to get off the air because I'm going to watch the news. I love the video with Elizabeth and Babs. Yeah, Babs, not Babs. Babs. Yeah, they had a good time, and I got another one to post after this. So thanks for watching this video production, you all. I'm going to watch the news. And sorry that it wasn't much of a challenge because I knew it wouldn't be, but tomorrow will be because it's going to be a regular bourbon against another regular bourbon. So that'll be a challenge. Thanks for watching this video production.